Everyone. Today I'm continuing from the series of C.S. Lewis arguments. I'm looking at the moral law and what it describes. Specifically, I'm reading from Mere Christianity, Book 1, Chapter 4. What lies behind the law? Let's jump in. Let us sum up what we have reached so far. In the case of stones and trees and things of that sort, what we call the laws of nature may not be anything except a way of speaking. When you say that nature is governed by certain laws, this may only mean that nature does, in fact, behave in a certain way. The so-called laws may not be anything real, anything above and beyond the actual facts which we observe. But in the case of man, we saw that this will not do. The law of human nature, or the right and wrong, must be something above and beyond the actual facts of human behavior. In this case, besides the actual facts, you have something else, a real law, which we did not invent and which we know we ought to obey. I now want to consider that this tells us about the universe we live in. Ever since men were able to think, they have been wondering what this universe really is and how it came to be there. And very roughly, two views have been held. First, there has been what's called the materialistic view. People who take this view think that matter and space just happen to exist and always have existed. Nobody knows why, and that the matter, behaving in certain fixed ways, just happened, by a sort of fluke, to produce creatures like ourselves who are able to think. By one chance in 1,000 something, hit our sun and made it produce the planets, and by another thousandth chance of chemicals necessary for life, and the right temperature occurred on one of these planets, and so some of the matter on Earth came alive, and then by a very long series of chances, the living creatures developed into things like us. The other view is a religious view. According to it, what is behind the universe is more like a mind than it is of anything else we know. That is to say, it is conscious and has purposes and prefers one thing to another. And on this view, it made the universe partly for purposes we do not know, but partly, at any rate, in order to produce creatures like itself. I mean, like itself to the extent of having minds. Please do not think that one of these views was held for a long time ago, and that it has other than gradually taken its place. Wherever there have been the thinking of men, both views turn up. And note this too, you cannot find out which view is the right one by science in the ordinary sense. Science works by experiments. It watches how things behave. Every scientific statement in the long run, however complicated it looks, really means something like, I pointed to the telescope to such and such a part of the sky at 2:20 a.m. on January 15th and saw so-and-so, or I put some of the stuff in a pot and heated it to such and such temperature and it did so and so. Do not think I am saying anything against science. I'm only saying what it is and what its job is. And the more scientific a man is, the more I believe he would agree with me that this is the job of science, and a very useful and necessary job it is too. The position of this question then is like this. We want to know whether the universe simply happens to be what it is for no reason, or whether there is a power behind it that makes it what it is. Since that power, if it exists, would be not one of the observed facts, but a reality which makes them, no mere observation of the facts can find it. There is only one case in which we can know whether there is anything more, namely our own case, and in the one case we find there is. Or put it another way around, if there was a controlling power outside the universe, it could not show itself to us as one of the facts inside the universe, no more than an architect of a house could actually be a wall or a staircase or a fireplace in that house. The only way in which we could expect it to show itself would be inside ourselves, as an influence or a command trying to get to us to behave in a certain way. And that is just what we find inside of ourselves. Surely this ought to arouse our suspicions? In the only case where you can expect to get an answer, the answer turns out to be yes. And in the other cases where you do not get an answer, you see why you do not. Suppose someone asked me, when I see a man in blue uniform going down the street, leaving little paper packets at each house, I suppose that they contain letters. I should reply, because whenever he leaves a similar little packet for me, I find it does contain a letter. And if he then objected, but you've never seen all of these letters, which you think the other people are getting, I should say, of course not, and I shouldn't expect to, because they're not addressed to me. I'm explaining the packets I'm not allowed to open by the ones I am allowed to open. It is the same question about this. The only packet I am allowed to open is man, and when I do, especially when I open the particular man called myself, I find that I do not exist on my own. that I am under the law, that somebody or something wants me to behave in a certain way. I'll be linking part 1 and part 2 of this series in the description. Thank you for watching, and if you like this video, like and subscribe and let me know what you think in the comments below.